Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into some seriously expensive life lessons. I'm talking lessons learned on the journey to becoming a billionaire. These are lessons about money, for sure, but also about mindset and what really matters in the end.
So let's kick things off with this quote, which is kind of wild when you first read it, right? The idea here is that all the tough stuff, the grind, the challenges you're going through right now, those might actually be the very moments you look back on and miss the most.
And that leads us right into our first big idea, the good old days and why the struggle is the story. It's the surprising twist where we find out just how valuable that hardship is and how beautiful life can be before all the success changes things.
And get this, even something he called a living nightmare can turn into a memory you cherish. He talks about this crazy time in his business that was so intense, so stressful, it was like something straight out of the show Succession. A total disaster at the time. But now, he actually looks back and misses it. He misses that insane, high-stakes problem-solving. It's wild. Those chaotic times, those became the good old days.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about a mistake that literally cost millions. This is one of the most expensive business lessons out there. The massive difference between taking cash now versus holding on to ownership for the long haul.
And you know, when you're just starting, this is the classic dilemma, isn't it? On one hand, you've got immediate cash. It's real, it's tangible, and it pays the bills today. On the other hand, you've got this idea of long-term equity, which can feel kind of risky, kind of abstract, like a lottery ticket for building an empire tomorrow. And let's be real, when rent is due, that cash looks pretty darn good.
So what does this number, $19 million, have to do with anything? Well, this is the value of stock that a then 18-year-old Iman Gaji was offered by a client, you've probably heard of them, or a ring, and he said no. He turned down what would become $19 million in stock for a $10,000 a month retainer instead. Yep, he took the cash.
And this just perfectly captures the mindset trap, right? As he says, you're not thinking about building some $30 million portfolio. You're just thinking, I just want to not worry about rent. And that's so real. When you're in survival mode, just trying to keep your head above water, it's almost impossible to think about building an empire 5 or 10 years from now. That short-term cash feels like a lifeline, even if it ends up being a very, very expensive choice.
Okay, so we've talked business. Now let's get into some deep-cut human psychology. This next part is all about haters, and a little secret to understanding why people will criticize your success, even when their reasons make zero sense. I mean, have you ever really thought about that? Why do people hate without any logical reason? You see someone disliking you or something you've done, and the reasons they give just don't add up. They fall apart if you look at them for more than a second. Well, it turns out there's actually a formula for this.
And here it is, the haters formula. It's super simple. People hate with emotion first, and then they justify it with logic. That's the key. The dislike is the starting point. It's just a gut feeling, right? Maybe it's envy, maybe it's insecurity, and then their brain scrambles to invent a logical reason to back up that feeling, just to make it seem legit.
So here's how it plays out in the real world. Step 1, someone feels a negative emotion towards you, like envy. Step 2, they can't just admit that, because that makes them look bad. So step 3, they invent a logical reason to justify it. He saw this happen with a super wealthy person who just started calling another successful guy a scammer out of nowhere. No proof, no evidence, nothing. The logic was just a cover for what was really going on, which was basically, I just don't like this person's success. And once you start to understand people on that level, it leads you to this really profound lesson. It's that the most important decision you'll ever make isn't about what you're building, it's about who you're building it with.
And really, this is what it all boils down to. Life's just too short to work with people you don't love and respect. At the end of the day, you're not going to remember the exact bank balance. You're going to remember the inside jokes, the late nights grinding through a problem, and the wins you shared with people you actually care about. That's the stuff that sticks.
And this idea wasn't just theoretical. He actually had to put it to the test with his sunglasses brand. He basically had 2 roads in front of him. Strategy 1, go for scale and profit. Or strategy 2, stick with passion and purity. A real fork in the road.
So on one side, you have the Profit Playbook. This was given to him by a billion-dollar e-com founder. It was simple. Set a $60 price point, run buy 2, get 1 free offers, get all the TikTok affiliates. It's a proven formula for making a ton of money. But then there was the Passion Playbook, which meant spending way too much on amazing packaging, creating these crazy, unique one-off pieces, and basically just ignoring all the financial models. And guess what he chose? He went with passion. He decided to keep it as this pure, financially inefficient project because the joy of creating it with his team was worth more than the extra profit.
But that brings up a huge question, right? What happens when you actually win? When you've achieved all the success you ever dreamed of? How in the world do you stay hungry? This brings us to our final and maybe most important lesson: how to keep that fire burning.
Just try to imagine it for a second. You've done it. You've achieved everything you ever wanted. You have the money, the lifestyle, everything. That little chip on your shoulder, that thing that made you hustle so hard, maybe it was to prove someone wrong or to get your family out of a bad spot, it's gone because you did it.
So, now what? Seriously, that's the big, terrifying question. How do you get out of bed in the morning with that same drive when you have absolutely nothing left to prove?
Well, the answer comes from watching the greats, like Michael Jordan. He talks about how you see these documentaries on guys like him, and he would literally invent reasons to feel like he had a chip on his shoulder. He would find ways to feel like people were underestimating him, even when he was the best in the world. And that's the secret. You have to keep that chip, even if you have to create it yourself. You have to find a way to stay the underdog in your own mind.
So that really leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Whether you're just getting started or you're already successful, what's the chip on your shoulder? What's that thing that's going to keep you hungry, keep you pushing, and keep you in the game?